What's up, BookTube? My name is Juan. I am just one reader, and I am here with some recent reads. These are going to be recent reads numbers 35 and 36, if I'm not mistaken. And one of these was a complete revelation. It was a complete surprise. I never thought I was going to end up enjoying it as much as I did. And it's one of the finest, most satisfying reads that I've had in a long while. Whereas the other one was quite the contrary. It was a very hyped book and it was very disappointing. So firstly, I would like to talk about this magnificent, wonderful, wonderful thing. This is a collection by P.G. Wodehouse, and it contains several of his works. But the one that I read in particular is called Blanding's Castle. So Blanding's Castle by P.G. Wodehouse tells the story of Lord Emsworth. We can see him in the cover with this pig. He is an incredibly relatable, quirky, eccentric, magnificent character. He is this middle-aged man who is, the lord of this castle in the English countryside. And he's a man who really enjoys his peace and quiet. He, above anything else, what he really covets in life is just to have some calm, some tranquility, and to live there quietly with the things that make him happy, which are tending to his garden, looking at the flowers. He enjoys he enjoys and he dabbles in some kind of local competitions in the local area. There's a story in here about a pumpkin competition. Then there's a pig competition to see who has bred the fattest pig. And throughout this story of Blanding's Castle, we follow him and we follow the way that he lives his life in this castle. We also follow the characters that surround him, and these characters are just wonderful. Some of them are members of the aristocracy, some of them are members of his family, some of them are people who work for him, like his butler or his gardener. P.G. Wodehouse has a great writing style. I completely fell in love with him, like head over heels in love with the writing. And I think it's very safe to say that this is the funniest book that I've ever read. This is the funniest experience that I've ever had reading a book in my life so far. I've never laughed out loud so hard with a book as I did with this one. I actually had to lock myself up here in my bedroom because I could not stop laughing, and it was embarrassing at times. It is wonderful, wonderful. Something else that I really loved was that it is so, like, the writing style is so elegant and so carefully woven and wordy, and it just feels it's like mocking itself. It's like a parody of itself. This actually feels like a parody or a very funny parody or satire of something like Downton Abbey. That sounds wonderful. It is wonderful. I really loved how P.G. Wodehouse doesn't take himself seriously. Quite the contrary. He knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it, and it just elevates everything. And yeah, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I am so incredibly grateful that I discovered P.G. Wodehouse. This is my first foray into the words, the worlds of P.G. Wodehouse, and I'm really, really excited to continue reading his stuff because this is one of the most satisfying, most like purest reading experiences I've had in terms of enjoyment. It's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, the next book was a very, very disappointing one. And I don't mean to say that I hated the book, but I did find it very disappointing, especially in comparison to the hype around it. The Title Zone by Sarah Moss is a book that I distinctly remember hearing a lot about it from people, especially British booktubers really loved this back when it was published, which must have been like 2 or 3 years ago. People went crazy for this book. They really, really loved it and very highly praised it. And because I trust many of these people, I decided I wanted to check it out myself. And while I did find that the premise, the concept, the ideas in this book were very promising and full of potential, I thought they went completely to waste. I think everything kind of fell to the wayside because the author's writing style, I could not stand it. I really, really could not stand it. This is the story of a family, and in this family, the gender, the traditional gender roles are inverted. So the father is the person who takes care of the children and takes care of the household, whereas the mother is a very successful doctor, and she's the one who is, well, the supporter, the breadwinner of the family. And then one day, something happens to one of their daughters, the eldest daughter. She collapses, and nobody really knows why, nobody really knows what happened. All they know is that her body just collapsed and she kind of died for a second. They keep her in hospital and they run some tests and they try to understand what's going on with her, and we follow that part of their lives and then the aftermath, and we follow all their anxiety and their neuroses and their fear of, is this ever going to happen again? We cannot control it. What can we do? Can we do anything? Is she gonna die? How do we deal with this? So that sounds like a very promising idea and a very compelling story for a novel. My problem was that first of all, the writing style was not for me at all. It did not capture my attention. I did not like it. She has a style. She just rambles on and on and on. It's a very quiet, incredibly slow-paced writing style, which is not a bad thing. I'm just describing what it is. She just meanders and meanders, and then she rambles on, and then she will just go and tell another story like a fairy tale or tell you something from history and kind of try to tell a very big metaphor or message with it. But in the end, I just felt like nothing happened in this book, and the character development and the story were just boring, and I just did not care for this book. So in the end, I'm very frustrated because I think she had a lot of really great things to work with here, a lot of potential, as I said, but I just did not like it, did not like the execution, and I thought it was just very, 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 very boring and slow and meandering and absolutely not for me. So I gave it 2 stars. And considering this was one of some of my favorite booktubers claimed this book to be their favorite book of the year, or one of their favorite books of the year when they read it, I am kind of disappointed and I'm feeling a little bit guilty even for not having liked it, but that's what you do. But on the other side, I am incredibly happy that I had this revelation. This is just like when you meet a person who instantly becomes your best friend forever, and you're like, how did I live without you? How could I possibly live without you in my life, without having you every day in my life? So that's how I feel. So please leave your comments down below and we will talk about these books. I am Just One Reader. Thanks for watching.